good at geography?
Yeah, I'm a geography teacher, actually.
A geography teacher, okay. Well, can you name me 5 countries beginning with the letter M?
Moscow.
Moscow?
Mars.
Mars?
Malaysia.
Malaysia, perfect.
Madrid.
Madrid, perfect. And one more?
Mercury.
Mercury, that's so good. Are your students pretty smart?
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. I've decided to skip the green screen. It's chilly tonight, and I have my fire cooking, and I need to keep an eye on it, which is behind the green screen. So I'm keeping that open, and I'm blowing warm air on me with my fan. So you may hear the fan in the background, but when you're in a very somewhat hastily insulated building, you got to do what you got to do to stay warm. There was once a study that I had heard about when Lego Corporation wanted to figure out how to sell toys to girls. They gave various Lego pieces to kids. And one of the things that they found out is that when boys were given like a Lego Batman, the boys pretended to be Batman. Now, I couldn't find the study on this, but this is what I've heard. And it does hold some light based on what I'm going to tell you next. So the little boys would pretend to be Batman, and the girls would take Batman and put him at like a tea party. So in other words, the boys wanted to be the action hero that they became part of the action hero's world. And the girls, well, they became like they invited the action hero into their world. What does this have to do with what I'm going to talk about? Because when women want to find new ways to praise themselves and feel good about themselves and prove that they're just as great or better than men, instead of going out and finding their own ways to be better than men and to prove that they've got different capabilities and that women and men are different, but women have strengths, instead of focusing on what women's strengths are, women have decided, well, we're going to be men, and we're going to be better than men at menning. We're going to outmen men. I came across this post, and this is from the Daily Mail, which is a trash site, but they're fun to read. And it says, debunking the myth of the male hunter. Prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims. One study, and most of the science is like shoddy at best. I want you to see something, though. This has 59 likes, and it has 1.1 thousand comments. In other words, roughly 0.5% of people, less than that, kind of agree with what they say. The top comments is from a guy named Baron Man-at-Arms. The funny part of this, it's not just a lie, but you know it's a lie, and published it anyway for clicks. And Bob Johnson says, yes, the lead author is a self-described feminist, no bias there. And it shows a picture of course, her. Enjoy the ratio, concurrent faculty Department of Gender Studies. That explains it all. Study claims. So I went to the article, and I'm going to debunk this live for you, just because men are awesome, but also science dictates that we're awesome. And it's not that we're better than women. Again, well, we are, but we are in every single way, really. But my point is that women are now trying to, like, we can't beat them and in the areas that they like, and we're going to join them in the areas they like, but also we're going to change history to prove that we're actually better, and history's had it wrong the whole time because, I don't know, patriarchy or something like that. Let me fix my camera here real quick because it seems to be a little far away for some reason. Anyway, they say debunking the myth of the male hunter. Prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, right? Wait, dramatic, what is it? Is it dramatic chipmunk or dramatic rodent? Okay, there we go. So prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims. Now, yes, so apparently prehistoric women were better than men at hunting, and then over the course of, tens of thousands of years, suddenly men developed vision that's better than women's for hunting, and strength that's better than women's for hunting, and endurance that's better than women's for hunting, and our auditory senses are better than women's for hunting, or maybe just men have always been the hunters. They say if you envision a prehistoric hunter, a vision of a caveman might spring to mind. But a new study claims that these cavemen paled in comparison to their female counterparts. That's right. Women weren't just a little better than men. They were way better than men. Men pale in comparison to women, of course, because screw off. While women have long been seen as child rearers, what with their bigger hips to carry children and bigger hips to birth children and larger breasts to feed them and the extra body fat to feed them, but that makes great hunting, I'm sure. And gatherers and men as hunters, research from the University of Notre Dame has debunked this theory. Yes, so all the thousands of studies on physiology and the way men's brains work and vision and hearing, and it's been debunked by a feminist and her friends. Their study found that not only did prehistoric women engage in the practice of hunting, but their female anatomy and biology would have made them intrinsically better suited for it. So men being taller and stronger and better lung capacity and larger veins and better vision, none of that counts apparently because, I don't know, estrogen? Rather than viewing it as a way of erasing or rewriting history, okay, our studies are trying to correct the history that erased women from it, said Dr. Kara Achabach, the lead author of the study. Yes, she looks like her little wiry legs and pot belly and the little tiny hand holding the spear that could throw it 4.5 yards before, I don't know, fainting. Yes, that's how we should envision the hunters of the past. The findings show that the female body is better suited for endurance activity, which would have been critical in early hunting. Oh, I'm going to debunk that in a moment. The main reasons for this biology advantages are hormones. In this case, estrogen and adiapectin, which are typically present in higher qualities in female bodies than in male. Typically higher, which doesn't mean always. These two hormones play a critical role in enabling the female body to modulate glucose and fat, a function that is key in athletic performance. Or hear me out now. I know this is crazy. You know what else is key to athletic performance? Testosterone and bone density and muscle density and lung capacity and heart capacity and a larger vascular system and eyes that are meant to catch movement, and men feel less pain than women do, and all the other things. All the things. Men taller, so they have a longer gait. But okay, let's go on with your glucose and fat modulation. Estrogen in particular helps encourage the body to use its stored fat for energy before using up its carbohydrate stores and protecting the body's cells from damage during heat exposure. Okay, but here's the thing. If the body has glucose, it typically uses glucose first, then moves on to body fat in the ketogenic state. Professor Achabach says since fat contains more calories than carbs do, it's a longer, slow burn, which means it's the same sustained energy can keep you going longer and can delay fatigue. Estrogen is really the unsung hero of life in my mind, so it's important for cardiovascular and metabolic health, brain development, and injury recovery. Okay, yeah, that's fine. The researchers also discovered that the structure of the female body would have been an advantage in hunting. With the typical wider hip structure of the female, they're able to rotate their hips, lengthening their steps, Professor Achabach added. The longer steps you take, the cheaper they are metabolically, and the further you can get faster. Okay, or the farther you can get faster. Okay, let's put a pause in that. Which gender is taller? The men. So a woman that can rotate her hips an extra couple of inches, maybe that gains her an inch or two on her strides, or the taller man just has longer strides. So yeah, I'm gonna read the two charts, and then I'm just gonna debunk this first part already. They say an endurance advantage. Okay, they say the suite of features below confers an endurance activity advantage. By the way, this is what happens when you let stupid people go to college. I'm just saying. Better psychological pacing, greater fatigue resistance through central and peripheral neuromuscular mechanisms, better insulin sensitivity can increase fatty acid oxidation and spare protein, increased fatty acid oxidation through mechanisms involving estrogen and adiponectin. Estrogen impacts multiple aspects of athletic performance, increased fatty acid oxidation, decreased glycogen utilization, increased insulin sensitivity, blah, 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 blah. And wait a minute, what? Greater protein sparing, attenuated heat shock protein response, improves cellular membrane stabilization. Boy, they're grabbing at straws here. Here's the one that caught my eye. Increased growth hormone, which increased muscle mass and improved muscle recovery. Ah, yes. We all know women naturally are much stronger and more muscular than men. Wider pelvis may be more efficient for carrying hip-placed load. You mean like a baby on your hip? They say more type 1 muscle fibers, greater intramuscular, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And now notice this one. They show the woman being strong and running, being healthy and active and fit. Let's look at the man who's confused, scratching his head and stupid. Maybe that's not what they were trying to confer, but it's like you got Wonder Woman up here and then you got this guy going, I don't know, dude. I just lift these heavy weights. And they, all the things we know about men. Okay, so if this is true, let's look at indoor records. Now, this is the male's indoor records in this tab. And then I have the woman's in another tab over here. We're going to scroll down to the same ones. Okay, they're talking about endurance, right? So let's go right to the marathon. The men's marathon record holder, 1 hour, 59 minutes. Woman's 2 hours, 17 minutes. So she's 17 minutes slower. 50 kilometers on a road, 2 hours, 39 minutes. Women's 3 hours. So basically, what's that? 239 versus 3. Okay, 20 minutes slower. 100 kilometers on the road, 6 hours, 5 minutes, 6 hours, 33. So 25 minutes slower. Well, it doesn't seem that endurance stuff is really holding out. I wonder if they have anything, let's see, with weightlifting or throwing things. I mean, that'd be kind of clutch, wouldn't it? Because I think the men's deadlift can lift is 500 pounds. Let's look at some throws. Do they have javelin? Oh, here's javelin, 89.48 for the men. What's the women's javelin throw? Because, I mean, if you're hunting, 72. Oh, so the men can throw it, 25 meters further, roughly? So men can throw javelins 25 meters further. I think that would come in handy for, hunting. What about a 50-kilometer walk, like just walking, 3 hours, 32 minutes? 4 hours, 29 minutes. What's that a difference of? 50 km walk on a road is 330. 50 km walk on a road, 357. Okay, that's like the women are half an hour slower, even just walking. Doesn't sound like women are doing all that great. I haven't gone through this whole thing. I'm just kind of curious. But let's say that lifting heavy things has nothing to do with hunting. But javelin throws better, endurance is better, speed is better. Boy, she's not really selling me on this. They say when you look at human physiology this way, you can think of women as the marathon runners versus men as the power lifters, except men are the power lifters and the marathon runners, as we've just proven. The study went on to examine fossils for archaeological evidence of women as hunters. These findings indicate prehistoric women not only shared in the resulting injuries of the dangerous business of close contact hunting, but it was an activity held in high esteem and valued by them. Okay, but that doesn't mean they were the main hunters. Just because some women had some of the same injuries, wait a minute, as men did. Wait, isn't that what they said? They said that women not only shared in the resulting injuries of the dangerous business, but it was an activity held in high esteem and valued by them. Okay, so you're saying that women may have hunted as well as men if they had the same injuries. You're not, because here's the thing, if one group of people is really good at doing something, like, I don't know, feeding their child and talking and listening and seeing color and hearing sounds like a baby crying, if that group is better in that, then that's the job they would do. Do you think a woman's going to have a child and she's got like a baby and all these babies are going to be left behind at camp while the women go out and hunt? What happens if the woman gets ended or injured? The child doesn't get fed, and that's the end of the kid. That doesn't make sense. Why is it always women and children first? Protect the women and children. Because if the children is your future offspring, the woman is needed to feed and rear the child. Why would all of a sudden do they think that this would just magically change in the course of thousands of years? Now, of course, they're going to, I don't know, say something with the patriarchy 1,000 years ago or something. But let's see. Evidence was also found of early female hunters in the Holocene period in Peru, where females were buried with hunting weapons. Okay, that's one group. Again, they may have participated in it. Doesn't mean that they were the main ones. We have no reason to believe that prehistoric women abandoned their hunting while pregnant, breastfeeding, or carrying children. Nor do we see the deep past any indication that strict sexual division of labor existed. Yes, because it's very easy to hunt and sneak up on prey while you've got a baby on your hip crying. Bravo. That makes sense. Because, I mean, honestly, think about that. Do you think do you know how hard it was to get food and hunt food back in the day? Do you really think you'd risk it by taking a baby out there? And it's like some of these animals were big. They were dangerous. Are you going to really risk your little toddler on the hip with mom while she's out there trying to fend off something or throw spears or whatever? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Hunting belongs to everyone, not just males. There weren't enough people living in groups to be specialized in different tasks. Everyone had to be a generalist to survive. That makes no sense. No, everybody did what they did best to survive. You don't take 10 guys that are great hunters and 10 women that are really familiar with plants and herbs, and that's the way you would go. You wouldn't be like, well, let's have some of the great hunters, I don't know, learn to pick flowers or whatever. Like, that's not how it works. The two studies simultaneously published in the Journal of American Anthropologists are high importance, blah, blah, blah. This revelation is especially important in the current political movement of our society where sex and gender are in spotlight. And there it is. There it is. That is why this is important to them. Because it's important to have this in the current political movement or moment of our society. It doesn't have anything to do with let's really figure out what happened. With current political things, we need to show women are as good as men. Women are men. Women are better men than men. That's where they are right now. We have to change the biases we bring to the table, or at least give long pause. And in a broader sense, you can't outright assume somebody's abilities based on whatever gender you have, whatever you have assigned to them by looking at them. I got news for you there, dingbat. I wonder if I can, let's, best rated. Let's see what we got for best rated. This is not a study demonstrating proven facts backed up by evidence. It's a politically correct message, presumably designed to increase funding for their research. Probably. So all the men of the world conspired together to suppress women's role in the past. Does that sound likely? Or rather a small group of nut jobs who are trying to rewrite well-documented history to push their demented narratives? I know which to believe. Well, here's the other thing I have, right? And again, this goes back to, are you going to tell me over the past thousands of years that biology just completely flip-flopped and all of a sudden men's biology changed? For what reason? I mean, as we've moved forward in time, we've had machines and inventions, and we've started farming and gardening, and we've become an industrialized society. You would think that the differences would become less over time, right? But then why are men today still way ahead of women when it comes to athletics and performance? I'm going to read this. This is from Duke Law. If you know sport, you know this beyond a reasonable doubt. There's an average 10 to 12% performance gap between elite males and elite females. The gap is smaller between elite females and non-elite males, but it's still insurmountable, and that's ultimately what matters. So elite females and non-elite males, there's still a gap, and it's noticeable. There's your answer right there. The best women are still in line with the average man. So if you have average men that can hunt as good as or better than the best women in sports, It's going to translate to running and all activities that are physical. Just now, listen to these stats. You guys will like this. Just in the single year of 2017, Olympic, world, and U.S. champion Tori Bowie's 100-meter lifetime best run of 10.78 seconds was beaten by 15,000 times by men and boys. Yes, that's the right number of zeros. So the Olympic champion, the Olympic world and U.S. champion, her 100-meter run of 10.78 was beat by 15,000 times by men and boys. And the key is the boys are not even done with their testosterone and their growth and their full development. So even young men who are still growing, and they're boys at this point, are ahead of the best of the best of the best of women. The same is true of Olympic, world, and U.S. champion Allison Felix's 400-meter lifetime best of 49.26. Just in the single year of 2017, men and boys around the world outperformed her more than 15,000 times as well. The differential isn't the result of boys and men having a male identity, more resources, better training, or superior discipline. It's because they have an androgenized body. An androgenized body is very difficult to say with the N. The results make clear that sex determines win shares. Female athletes are defined as athletes with ovaries and stuff, blah, 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 blah. We know all that stuff. The number of men and boys beating the world's best women in the 100 and 400 meters is far from the exception. It is the rule. They also go in here to state that the number one female power lifter, like her deadlift, is 500 pounds less than men's. 500 pounds. They have all the races here. 100 meters, 200, 400, 800, all the way up to 5,000 meters. The women's best result of the 5,000 meter, which is an endurance race, 14 minutes, 18 seconds. The boys, 12 minutes, 55 seconds. The number of boys that outperformed the world record holder for the women, 15. That's not a ton, but that's still a lot. The high jump, men were better. Pole vault, long jump, triple jump, all of these things. And then when you get to the men's, they're just women are absolutely crushed. Men outperforming in everything. And look, again, it's not saying, and this is the problem that feminism has, right? And I have one more article I'm going to read from that's kind of fun. This is not saying men are better than women at everything. But because if you think about it, like, women are designed for certain things, and they're upset that they're not designed for the same things that men are. Ideally, feminism wanting women to be more like men goes to show you that women think men are better than women. I know that sounds ironic, but let me say that again. Women wanting to be more like men proves that women think men are better than women. They want to be more like men. And what's the other thing that they're doing? They're trying to incentivize men to act like women. Be more emotional, be more tender, be more sweet, watch the babies while I go to work. And you know what's happening? Men are becoming more like women. And then do you know what the women say? I'm not attracted to those men. I don't like them men. They're like they're the nest at home taking care of the birds while mama bird's out earning the money and being the man. What happens? The women burn out. You know, there was I think they say it in here at some point, because I've been reading a lot of articles about this. When men are challenged, when men get a little bit of fear in them, when men see something that needs attention, their adrenaline skyrockets, their testosterone skyrockets. They get in a very much a fight or flight, and that's why it's game on. That's why when men see something happening, men will react. A car goes off a bridge into water. Men are running down, trying to jump into the water and maybe get in and save whoever's in there. It happens all the time. You see thousands of videos of it. A dog falls into a river and is stuck on a little thing in the middle of the island, and men make a human chain just to save a dog. Why? Because men, number one, they know that dogs are good companions, they're good friends, they deserve to be saved, right? But the other thing is that it's actually physically, what's the word? It's physically uncomfortable for a man to do nothing and watch something happen. Like we feel like we need to fix it or stop it or correct it or save it, or that's just how we're built. It's in our genealogy. What do women do when something bad happens? They scream, which is a notification to other men that something bad is happening and they need to come running. So the scream is kind of in their DNA. Hey, everybody, there's something going on. Screaming, right? The other thing they do, of course, cover their mouth like this, like soy boys do. And the third thing is they run or hide. It's because it's in their genes. So to say that all of a sudden, well, this is all different now and women were the real hunters and biology, no, just no. They say scientific facts, differences between men and women. You've got to remember that men are men and women are women, although a lot of similarities, there are some real differences. And that was by Helen Fisher. They go down, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they're listing a lot of things. Acoustic size judgment. Men have the ability to hear a voice. Let me just read it. Not that this recent study in biology letters suggests that men have an enhanced ability to judge someone's size by the sound of their voice. Not that this ability is necessarily exclusive to men. Other studies have shown that all people have a hardwired talent for guessing a person's height, weight, and facial features based on only a sample of their voice. But men do have a particular aptitude for it. Why would this be with men? Because maybe they could hear the sound, or they could hear the sound of other tribes or other hunters or other predators or other men that may be hunting them, and they can hear, hey, that's a large group of that's a bunch of big guys coming. Or maybe it was they could hear the tone of an animal and realize, oh, that's a big one, or that's a small one. Maybe we should hunt it, or maybe it's dangerous, whatever. Again, maybe this goes right to our lizard brain, right? They see things differently. Men have thicker retinas and larger M cells than women. The M cells are responsible for tracking the movement of objects. Women have more P cells, which are responsible for identifying objects as well as analyzing textures and colors. When would analyzing textures and colors come in handy? Looking for plants, looking for food, looking for edible, foraging. When would movement matter for hunting? So right there, just even in the development of our eyes, it tells you that men were designed to hunt and women were designed to forage. Right-minded, which is women's left and right-brained are more connected, where men's are more left hemisphere. What's left? Logic, reason, deduction, mathematics. A lot of this was formed before birth. The brain differences are before birth. That's long before, society can have a change. During periods of stress, both men and women release the hormone oxytocin, but female estrogen combines with the oxytocin to create a calming effect, while the relationship of testosterone to oxytocin has a tendency to make men more aggressive. So during stress, we're not eating, other tribes are coming for us, we got to go hunt, we're in danger, boom, men get aggressive. Women get more calm because women try to talk their way out of things, men try to fight, right? You see two guys fighting, what is it? It's always one of the girlfriends, guys, stop, don't, get in between, and the guys just want to duke it out. Well, aggression is going to lead to better hunting. It's going to lead to better protecting. I mean, again, this is just throughout history. I mean, it's throughout history of our body. Three-dimensional thinking. Men are better able to think of objects three-dimensionally. That comes in handy for hunting. Faces and moving objects. In a study done on 100 babies, on the day of their birth, girls were found to prefer looking at young women's faces, while boys preferred moving objects. Women were social, looking at their mothers or women's faces. Boys preferred moving objects. They're already, day one, they're more keyed in on objects and things and movement and mathematicians. Of course, boys are better at that. They say popped up veins. The more muscle mass a person has, the more blood that is needed to fuel it. As muscle mass builds, so do veins. Since men on average have more muscle mass than females, they tend to have more prominent veins. More prominent veins, more cardiovascular blood circulation, better for getting that blood to the muscles during exercise, during workout lifting, during hunting. Yeah, that's right. You see it all. Girls have 11 more neurons than boys in the brain centers that control language and hearing. Not only do women hear better than men, they can also better distinguish between a broader range of emotional tones, like crying. Now, why is that important? Because, yes, they need to hear their baby cry, but why would it be important their hearing is very good? Maybe to hear if something's creeping up on them, maybe to hear for their child's cry, maybe because they're always talking and listening to other women in the prehistoric tribes or whatever. Who knows? It's hard to say. All right, here's another one. Women tend to store fat in a ring shaped around the abdomen, while fat in men is deposited between their organs. Women carry more fat than men. It's in their hips, thighs, buttocks. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it would be helpful for men to carry it around their organs instead of around their hips and their butt. Maybe because, I don't know, it keeps them smaller or more athletic. I don't know. Women genuinely feel more pain than men. Well, if men are getting cut and hurt while they're hunting, women worry more than men. Well, we know that. During male fetal development, some of these are just, I'm reading because they're interesting. Testosterone impacts the formation of the auditory system and causes the brain to block out unwanted noise and repeated sounds. When a person repeats themselves several times, the male brain registers it as unwanted, repetitious, acoustic stimuli, and they genuinely don't hear it. Women, on the other hand, don't have that skill. I'm gonna screen grab that because I want to remember that for later. I'm gonna screen grab that. Why would that maybe be a good thing? If a guy's hunting and there's maybe rippling water over here and a bird that keeps making some annoying sound, maybe they can drown that out a little bit easier so they can hear their prey. I don't know. That's just a guess, but that would make sense. Better spatial sense. Men's parietal regions are thinner than women's. This makes it easier for them to visualize rotating 3D objects. I'd say it's probably helpful for hunting. Finger length. Of course, men's fingers are longer. Grip strength is much stronger. I showed that in the last video I did. I don't know if I have that screen shot anymore or if I got rid of it. Let me see if I still have it. Yeah, I got it right here. Let me just drop this in the web browser real quick. They say right here, moreover, to assess the potential margins of improvement in hand grip strength of women by training, we studied 60 highly trained elite female athletes from sports known to require high hand grip forces, judo, handball. Maximal isometric hand grip forces was recorded over 15 seconds using a handheld grip, hand grip ergometer or ergometer. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. They say mean maximal hand strength grip showed the expected clear difference between men, 541 N, and women, 329 N. Less expected was the general related distribution of hand grip strength. 90% of females produced less force than 95% of males. They say though female athletes were significantly stronger, 444 N, than their untrained female counterparts, this value corresponded to only the 25th percentile of the male subjects. So the best female athletes, the strongest female athletes where their hands were the strongest, were only 75% of men's strength in their hands was stronger. So 75% of men are stronger than the very strongest females in grip strength. Holding spears, chucking rocks, firing bows, whatever. Men get a positive chemical boost from conflict and competition, while conflict elicits negative chemical reactions in women, creating fear, stress, sadness. This ties back to nature, where the female of certain species rely on social ties for survival. Okay, where would you get conflict and competition from? You get conflict and competition from hunting, from fighting, from defending your tribe, but also competition in the workplace, conflict in the workplace, because it happens. Men get a positive chemical boost from that. Women, negative. Now you know why women that are under stress because they're a surgeon or a lawyer in a court situation, why it's negative to them, where for man, it's positive. He looks forward to it. Where women, now granted, not all court situations or whatever, but I'm just saying that over years of work and stressful work, men are fine. Women kind of freak out. And when I mean freak out, just meaning they're not built for it. So it takes a much different toll on them. Color detection, women are better at that, surprising. Processing emotion. Women are better at expressing emotion, while men seldom want to talk about it because they say, in adolescence, the brain activity associated with negative emotion moves from the primary area of the brain to the cerebral cortex, where language and reasoning centers are located, but this only happens in girls. So for men, a lot of talking and jabbing and blobbing in certain situations can be negative, where women like it. Neurological disorders, well, that's women. I don't care what they say, that's women. Let's see what else. 1,000 gene difference, no sleep. Okay, here's another one. This is kind of interesting. I have not read through all of these. A study out of Duke University revealed that men tolerate sleep deprivation better than women do. When women don't get the sleep they need, they suffer mentally and physically. They are at higher risk of developing heart disease, depression, or blood clots, while men suffer fewer consequences. Why don't men need to sleep as long? I don't know, but it's probably something we were built for. Again, long hunting. I mean, it was early men actually hunted by taking a very fast animal and just running after it. I forget where I read this, but men would run things to death. They just run, and the animal keeps sprinting away, and men's endurance was so good that they would literally run an animal to the ground without ever throwing anything at it. I'm sure one of you can find the study for that, but yeah, men can run things into the ground. I think that's where the expression "run it into the ground" comes from. I just thought of that. Like, oh man, he ran that thing into the ground. I wonder if that comes from the men hunting by running things into the ground. Men tend to express aggression physically, women verbally. Men's aggression pathway is more directed, linked to the brain for physical action. Of course. Women's blood contains more water and 20% fewer red blood cells. Well, they probably didn't get as many injuries, didn't need to heal up. Let's see, linguistically, a neater hand. Women are incredible shrinking brain. Let's see. Is there any other things that I need to? They talk about men's noses. Men have 10% larger noses than women. There, we said it. Maybe it's so we could smell better. Oh, it simply requires more, tied to their larger muscle mass, it requires more oxygen for a man to maintain muscle tissue growth and maintenance. There you go. That's true. You want to think about that. It's like, how do you know? Another reason that men were the hunters and needed more air because they're running big. They got big noses, bigger hearts. Men have bigger hearts. Women have looser ligaments, greater range of movement. The downside to this greater flexibility is women are at greater risk of joint injuries. Okay, so there you go. Women have thinner skin than men. Men use 7 times more gray matter for activity than women. The gray matter areas of the brain are the information and action processing areas, which can create a kind of tunnel vision in men when they're doing something, like literally laser focused on something. Again, that I could see how that would be great for hunting and tracking movement. They literally, and they say equal intelligence, which again, it can be on various different things. So, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that men are necessarily better than women in all things, but there's a vast number of ways that men are better than women. And the ways that women are better than men, ironically, you don't see them on display very much for one simple reason. Because men have created things to make women's lives easier. I mean, let's take, for example, let's say women really were the foragers. Okay, well, they don't have to forage anymore. Why? Because there's farms. Men created, I have to assume, or civilizations created farming, so women don't have to gather anymore. As far as like women rearing children, there's lots of things to help them do that. As far as cooking, as far as, one of the greatest developments ever was the sanitary napkin. That made it so women could go about their daily lives and not have to worry about, getting blood on things and or having to separate themselves from a society. Birth control, invented by men. The washing machine, the dryer, the air conditioner, all these things were built by men, and it was to make lives easier for everyone. So maybe just the way today guys are still superior is that there's still very many jobs that men do that are masculine, they're tough, they're stressful, and men are fine doing it. But all of this is in our genes. It's written in our DNA, and that DNA didn't just change overnight. You can't just rewrite history, but women are trying to do that. And now they're trying to say they're far superior to men when it came to hunting because of a little bit of estrogen and the way that they process body fat. I literally read a list of like 50 things that show that that's not true. But they're going to keep trying. Expect more of this to come. And as women get into government, women get into these businesses, they're going to continue to try to rewrite everything to advantage themselves or to make things to where they can do whatever they want and not be criticized or called out for it. And that's where things get bad, and that's where things fall apart. And that's why I think this next turning is not going to be weak men make bad times. I think it's going to be women are making bad times because women are trying to run the show, and stupid men keep giving them the ability to do it, and they're ruining it for all of us. Guys, if you like my work, please make sure to check out my older content. I got 1,000 videos of different content, none of which are timely. So if you like my content, go back 3 years or whatever and watch the transition of my channel and watch some of the other content I did. I try not to repeat myself on too many things, so you might be missing out on a lot that I don't talk about anymore. So go check out some older stuff, and we'll see you in the next one, guys.